The following presentation is brought to you by Frog Hollow Collision. Whether it's a minor dent or a major repair, trust only Frog Hollow Collision. Located at 11 Stewart Avenue in Bethpage, New York. Or give them a call at 516-735-2345. Ask for Anthony, and don't forget, tell him that Garris Gagz sent you.
And welcome to the New York Sports Guys program with Garris Gagz, your bad boys of sports talk. My name is Gagz. I am part of your co-hosting team. The other man you're going to hear, his name is Garris. How you doing tonight, buddy? What is going on?
Fucking just stressed out of my mind on a bunch of other stuff, but I'm ready to talk a little bit about sports tonight, so hopefully that'll allow me to vent in that aspect, maybe talk about some other personal stuff going on and some bullshit that how I continually get screwed by the man.
Oh, absolutely, I hear you, but this is our therapy, man. This is our forum to get everything off our chest with our sports teams, with our wives, with our personal lives. You know, fuck it all. We put it out in the open for the public to hear, and we hope we can entertain people for the next 59 and a half minutes. And thank you for tuning in, anybody out there who is listening. What a week it was in sports. Opened up the NFL season. A lot of things happened that I don't think anybody expected as far as teams that we predicted to be pretty bad. Actually looked pretty fucking good if you ask me. And what that says is this football season that is upon us now is going to be a lot more competitive than the 6 or 8 teams that we thought were going to dominate the league. And first I wanted to just say is, holy RG fucking 3. Boy, did this guy surprise everybody in the NFL. In my mind, it was the top story of the weekend in the NFL. You had teams like Baltimore and San Francisco, Baltimore doing what they were supposed to do. You had a couple surprises, at least to me and you. San Francisco's, I don't know how you feel, because we haven't really talked that much since Sunday morning's broadcast. But San Francisco surprised the shit out of me.
Yeah, without a doubt. We were discussing before on Sunday morning. I was saying how I doubt Alex Smith can have mimic the year he had last year. Who knows? You know, we thought that the 49ers defense was going to be great, obviously, but where was their offense going to fit in? Was Randy Moss going to be a big part? Which, besides that touchdown pass, he wasn't really a big part of the offense. Matter of fact, he was looking elsewhere, which is fine. But wow, did San Francisco really come out and destroy it out there? I mean, it was closer than the scoreboard's closer than what the game actually was. They
Absolutely.
only won by 8 points, but it never felt close the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, Moss was somewhat of a factor. He had 4 catches for 47 yards, so he was over 10 yards a catch. At 38 years old, if he can give you that every week and come to play the offensive series that he is in the game, and he is a vocal point, he could be a big weapon for them. But San Francisco, in my mind, they are the most physical football team in the NFL right now. And at least, I'll say in the NFC, because even though Baltimore is old, they're still very physical. I was very impressed by them on Monday night, the way they just absolutely destroyed Cincinnati, who I think Cincinnati is going to be a pretty good team. I don't see them making the playoffs, but I think they're going to be over 500, and they made them look like a junior varsity team. But the fact that San Francisco went into Green Bay and absolutely fucking beat the shit out of Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, that was very, very impressive. And, you know, whatever I was saying about San Francisco not being as good as they were last year, I feel like they're going to make me eat my words by the time the season's done. They're definitely, if not the best-looking team in the NFL right now, the second best. The other team I'll put up there is probably Baltimore. And it was just really crazy the way that the first Sunday of the NFL went down. There was a lot of games that were closer than I think me and you expected. I mean, if you went through and you looked at our picks, I think we both had like 5 wins picking against the spread on Sunday morning, which was actually different than our pool that we're in, our spread pool. We both did pretty well in that. But the fact that you have teams like the St. Louis Rams, the Cleveland Browns, Arizona Cardinals.
Which, if you don't mind me interrupting right there.
Oh, go for it.
I got to say, that was one hell of a pick I pulled out of my ass by that Cleveland Browns. Because when the Eagles are given 9 points and I say, you take them 9 points and run with it, people were looking at me and telling me I was insane. And I said it was going to be a lot closer than 9 points. I'm not saying that the Browns were going to win, but I'm saying it's going to be a lot closer. And holy shit, was it that.
And I think if the Browns did what I've been suggesting they do and start Colt McCoy, I think they would have beat the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday.
Yeah, we didn't look like shit, huh?
Oh, I mean, I didn't get to see any of the game live. I saw the highlights, I saw the numbers, and when you said he's going to be another Chris Winkie, you were more than right. He's going to be worse than Chris Winkie. This guy is already 28, and he looked lost from at least the highlights I show. You know, throwing 4 picks, completing 12 out of 35. His QBR was 5.1. I don't even know how you can even give him any type of QBR with the performance that he had. I think he only threw for 2 first downs the whole game. And this is a guy that they handed the keys to this franchise a week into training camp, which I thought was nuts. I think you were surprised by it. But you have a young guy who's still under 25 in Colt McCoy, who showed potential, and he's sitting on the bench. And come to find out, I found out now, they're not too happy with, I guess, the way, not necessarily he handles the situation, but last year when he took a big hit and got an injury, his father was out on the field, his father was criticizing the organization, and they're kind of making him pay for it, which is kind of unfair to him, and not for nothing. That defense is pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot better than I thought.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, when you say Colt McCoy is a pretty decent quarterback, like I said before, one thing I'm really good at when it comes to sports is telling you who's going to be a good quarterback and who's not. It's a gift I have.
Yeah, no, you know what? You were pretty accurate with your assessment of these quarterbacks, and we'll get into the other rookies in a minute. But finish your statement there.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Colt McCoy either. He's not the answer. He is a better answer than Whedon is. I knew that coming out right out from the gate. You know, the guy has more experience with the offense, obviously, but I didn't see anything positive in this game at all. You can't take anything positive out of the game that for the quarterback situation in Cleveland. They need to address the situation. It's kind of hard to bench the guy. You don't want to completely destroy the guy because, listen, an older rookie at that, getting into the game, you got to let him play it out. Everybody's going to have rookie bumps, rookie seasons. You know, it's just if you have a great rookie season, there's always the sophomore slump. So let's see after game 2. By game 3, I would definitely think if they had another similar game to this, the fans are going to be booing and they're going to want Colt McCoy back in there.
Next week, this coming Sunday for Cleveland, not that we want to spend too much time on the Browns, but they're playing their in-state rival in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a team that is not as talented as Philadelphia. If he goes out there and has another stinker and completely looks like a pile of shit that he looked last Sunday, if they continue to stick with him and not put Colt McCoy in the game, they might not win a game all year.
Yeah,
with this guy, how is this guy going to win games playing that way?
100% right. But also, take a. You know what? I was somewhat wrong in a situation with, you were talking about how they're playing their in-state rival Cincinnati next weekend. And Andy Dalton played a pretty solid game as far as I'm concerned. 22 of 37, 221, no touchdowns and a pick.
Against a great defense.
What's that?
Against a great defense.
Against a great defense, you're right. 221 against a great defense, it's pretty damn good. But once again, it shows where Cincinnati stands. When you have a team that I think is going to be in the Super Bowl, in the Baltimore Ravens, you put Cincinnati up against them, and they pale in comparison to how good the Ravens are.
Absolutely, the Ravens. And when we did our NFL preview show last Monday,
yep,
we something about it was time for this offense, and I had a feeling that this offense, with the weapons they had, were on the verge of an explosion. They changed their format going to this no huddle or this quick moving offense. And let me tell you, Flacco looked like he didn't have time to think about anything, and everything he did was on the mark.
Yeah,
I didn't really see.
He threw for just a yard under 300, a couple TDs. And did you see one of the things when we were breaking down the Ravens that I said was you got to have Flacco's, you got to let him show off his arm and let them go deep.
Absolutely.
And they did, and it was effective, putting up 44 points on the board.
Not only that, Anquan Boldin, who I said, you didn't really see the Boldin that was seen in Arizona last year, even though he did have a little bit of an injury out of the gate. He seemed to just never get on that page with that offense, with Flacco and the rest of the guys on that offense. He looked great the other night. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the few plays he made, he went up, he got a couple balls, he looked physical. He was blocking on the outside for Ray Rice on a couple screens.
Bolden had 4 receptions, and I think it was 70 yards in a TD.
I mean, if you can get that from him every week, and then you have the speedster on the outside and Torrey Smith. We didn't really even bring up when we did our preview show. Ray Rice, we all know what he's going to give you. That offense is very potent. They have a very good offensive line. This team in Baltimore, when you said they were going to the Super Bowl, I have them right there playing Houston in the AFC Championship. But, they were scary. If that offense can put up these numbers. I had a couple people, I posted on our fan page on Facebook that, I was very impressed with Baltimore. What did you guys think? I had somebody say, they played a shitty defense in Cincinnati, so they were going to hold off their opinion. Cincinnati is not a shitty defense. I mean, they're our worst defense in the league besides Cincinnati, and they put up 44, and it looked effortless. It really did. At one point when I guess they came out of halftime and Dalton got them down the field and they scored. I mean, once they were faced with a little bit of adversity and the offense had to come back and answer, they came back and answered with, 16 exclamation points, pretty much saying, fuck you, there's no way you guys can hang with us. And then the defense kind of fed off that offensive surge. So this team looks crazy good. San Francisco looked crazy good. But the other surprise, and it was the talk of the town here in the Tri-State, and for good reason, the New York Jets scoring 48 points.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. I mean, and it was great too because I had the game on early, and with the Jets' first drive going down the field, and I saw a typical Mark Sanchez throw. I don't know if you saw it, his first pick.
Yep, the underhand shovel.
Yeah, the underhand shuffle as he's scrambling for his life to get out of bounds. And
which I thought not for nothing, and sorry to interrupt you, I thought that receiver didn't get 2 feet down.
No, well, that was a close play, but when he threw that scramble, crazy, panicky shuffle pass and it got picked off, I went, here we go. A lot to talk about. It's going to be a lot to talk about come Tuesday, well, now Wednesday night, recapping the game. But did they turn it around and surprised the hell out of everybody.
Do you remember the text I sent you after you threw that?
It wasn't all on offense, but lighting it up for 48 points. The only thing that's a concern, letting up 28 points because the Bills aren't a high-scoring team. That would be something to be concerned about. The injury to Darrelle Revis, I don't know if he's been cleared. I don't.
I got an update on that. Today he was cleared for practice, but no contact. He's allowed to do, football activities. He was able to run through, defensive sets, whatnot. But the doctor said, just to be on the safe side, have him not make contact for a couple of days. But I have a good feeling he's going to be in there against Pittsburgh come Sunday.
Okay. Well, and then let's go to Mark Sanchez, who had a damn good game. You can't criticize him. Maybe banging Eva Longoria is putting some youth into, is aging him a little bit, maybe I should
say. Yeah, he went from a 25-year-old quarterback to a 32-year-old who's been in the league for 12 years. That's the way he looked.
Yeah, his dirty Sanchez right into Eva Longoria.
I don't know what this guy's thinking, but, we've seen a couple of New York athletes, get with these women and start fucking these girls, and all of a sudden their performances go out of this world. I mean, we all remember what happened with A-Rod when he started banging Kate Hudson. He was pretty much the MVP of the playoffs that year, even though he wasn't World Series MVP. But, a little bit of confidence, she makes him feel good, and look what happens. I mean,
it's not just in New York. I mean, Tiger Woods was the best golfer on the planet. Apparently you can't play golf that well with a full bag of semen, so he's not draining it into Perkins waitresses anymore, so it would throw his game off.
I was about to say, he wasn't even fucking a celebrity. He was fucking everything that walked.
You go to somebody like Tony Romo, who was forced to fuck a fat chick in Jessica Simpson, and his game went downhill.
Absolutely. And not for nothing, since my Lawson's was with Kim Kardashian, he hasn't been the same player. But back to Sanchez. 19 for 27, for 266, 3 touchdowns, and that pick, which wasn't really a typical pick. So I'll give him a pass on that. But he threw for 70% completion rate percentage. I can count maybe on my right hand how many times he's done that, where he's thrown over 70% on his completions.
Well, yeah, he was worse in the league last year, under 60%. I think he was around.
I think it was 56.
Yeah, so anything better than last season's a positive. You'll take that, and 70%, not bad.
And the QP rating of 123. I mean, you couldn't be more efficient.
Sean Green just under 100 yards, carried the ball 27 times. That's
a disappointment in my mind.
What's that?
Sean Green was like the only disappointment in the offense in my mind. I thought, he is a between the tackles, bang 'em, rough 'em, couple yards at a time. But you ran the ball 27 times and you couldn't break 100 yards, especially when that offensive line was dominating a good defensive line in Pittsburgh. I mean, Kyle Williams, Mario Williams, these guys are good players up front for Buffalo, and they still didn't really get that running game going.
Yep, and one of the things we were talking about, I think it was a couple weeks ago when we were still talking preseason, and I said, look out for this guy, Stephen Hill. He's going to be a pretty damn good player. And got some feedback from some people saying, what were you watching? The guy sucks.
That was my feedback.
That was your feedback, okay.
Absolutely. I said the kid had all the potential in the world. I mean, he's a speedster. He's got great size. He's 6'3", 6'4". He looks physically... he could be a physically dominating presence at the receiver position. But the one problem is anytime that the ball was over the middle or a guy was, had tight coverage on him, it was almost like he couldn't catch the ball. He made a lot of catches and he looked great. I'm not going to take anything away from him. He totally made me look like a dickhead. But at the same time, and what I noticed, and I'm pretty sure you've noticed it too, having played football and being a football addict as you are, he caught a lot of balls against his chest.
He does do that, yes.
And, you get a good defensive team that are going to make contact, like Baltimore or San Francisco in a couple of weeks, even Pittsburgh coming up. They're not going to let you touch the ball and not hit you. Those balls are going to pop out, and he's going to have quite a few drops, I think. But all in all, don't get me wrong, the kid looked phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. We all forgot about Santonio Holmes. I mean, Santonio Holmes was barely even a presence in the game with the production of Curley and Stephen Hill and the tight end Cumberland, who filled in for Keller. He looked good too. the whole offense as a unit looked very good. Sean Green, I wish, did a little bit more. But, that's how I felt about it. You want to get back to Stephen Hill?
Yeah, why not? No, I have nothing else to say about Stephen.
Oh, all right. But on to the Jets' defense. Jets' defense looked like the defense that Rex keeps saying that they are. I figure we both thought that they were going to be a good defense, but our main concern was if the offense wasn't producing, how long was that defense really going to be able to dominate, especially with the loud mounts they have on that defense. But let me tell you something. This Laurent Landry,
what a cheap piece of shit.
What?
What a piece of shit.
Why do you say he's a piece of shit?
That cheap shot? Did you see that?
I might have missed that, but let me tell you something. He hits everything that's moving, even if he does throw a cheap shot here or there. He's becoming one of my favorite defensive players to watch.
Well, okay. I understand he's a great player, absolutely great player. But you didn't see that play on Sunday where he went right after what was his name? Who went right at the guy's knees? Like brutal hit too, a real brutal hit.
Now, was it after a play? Was it? I mean, I don't know what point of the game it was. I was on the road, as you know. I did have it up on the laptop, and I was able to see the game, but it was choppy. I was delayed. When I went under an overpass, I lost my signal for like 45, 50 seconds. So there was a good chance that actually I didn't see the play. So whatever did happen or occur, I was blind to it. So if you did give a cheap shot, hey, listen, these NFL players in these first few weeks with the replacement officials are going to do whatever they can to see what these officials will call. There was a lot of stuff that was called, that wasn't called. The officials, in my book, I'd give them a C overall from what I saw. They weren't bad, but they weren't great. There was a couple of games that, we'll get into in a little bit that, the refs were almost the highlight of the game. Speaking of the Seattle-Arizona game, you saw the end of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, also watching that game, Austin Howard, everybody says, oh, he dominated Mario Williams. You know what? He held Mario Williams for 3/4 of the game, and you know what? I don't have a problem with it because it wasn't called. And these guys are going to test the limits of these officials, and if they're going to be able to get away with it, they're going to continue to do it. And let me tell you something about these replacement officials, if you don't mind. They call holding at a minimal basis. That was like the one biggest difference that I saw from the regular officials during regular season and the years past to week 1. I want to say holding calls were probably down like 65%. I don't have the numbers.
Which I'm happy about.
But you know what? They say you can call holding on every play, right?
Yep, pretty much.
You know what? They're letting them play. You know what? There's a gladiator sport. You're getting held. Fucking knock the guy in the face mask. Knock him up underneath the chin. Do whatever you got to do to get him off you, or make him not hold you. That's why I think a lot of these games that we saw in week 1 were very physical. There was a couple, scuffles here and there in a couple of games, but these officials are kind of letting them play. I mean, there was a couple bullshit calls, don't get me wrong, and, you can point out a couple. I'm sure you saw the one in Green Bay. They made the bad call at the end of the Arizona-Seattle game, which turned out not to really bring too much attention. It was mentioned on Monday in a couple of sports outlets, but if Braylon Edwards could catch a ball that went right between his hands, everybody would probably be screaming bloody murder for the regular officials to get back. But all in all, I thought they did a decent job. What was your take on the officials?
I thought they were, I can't say a non-factor because there were some pretty big blunders. In 2 games, they forgot how many timeouts were issued. Both. The only one that it somewhat affected was the Lions outcome. The Lions game came down to the last second. The other one was they gave it in favor of Seattle the other day, which Seattle was trailing, so it really didn't matter. You know what I mean? Seattle didn't. Oh, come on! What the heck is going on here? Sorry about that. Having a little issue here. Arizona wound up winning the game, so that extra timeout they gave Seattle didn't affect the game. Could you imagine Seattle's down and they scored a touchdown and the officials granted them that extra timeout?
Yeah, you know what? That's crazy, and I'm not going to sit here and say, like, when that happened, I knew the exact call, but the explanation the guy gave made sense. But, you know, you have this Mike Pereira, who I fucking hate on Fox. You saw this asshole?
I did.
For some reason, he just bothers me. And half the time that they bring him in, he's fucking wrong. He gets the call. He gives what the rule is, and he gives his opinion, and the refs go the other way anyway. So what the fuck is he having on the screen?
I just think it's a useless topic. It's similar to baseball when they, for the Mets, when they go to Kevin Burkhardt to talk about some bullshit in the stands. I'm not there to listen to that horse crap. Just let me watch the game. I know it was a bad call on the field. I can see that. I don't need Mike Pereira coming in here to let me know he disagrees with the call, because he disagrees with most of them. Did you happen to see that Twitter fight that was on there?
No, I did not.
Okay, Pereira made a comment on Twitter saying that, you know, these calls are pretty bad, followed up by a PR official from the NFL saying, yeah, kind of as bad as when you were in charge.
You know what? The guy, he does it. I mean, Fox, whatever, they see a purpose for him, so they pay him to do this. But I don't think he's all that great. The only thing the guy does right is he actually reads you the rule that's in the rule book. Great. Like, I really care about Rule 5-2134, suck my dick. I don't really care, to be honest. You know what? It's no matter what he says, it's whatever the official rules on the field is what counts. So you know what? Stay in your little studio, in your little box in the corner, and shut the fuck up. Let me watch a goddamn football game. But
yeah, and just as a side note to recap, by the way, slipped my mind before, but that hit by Landry was on Fred Jackson, and he's
that was the one where he went out, huh?
Yeah, he's out at least 3 weeks.
Yeah, which I didn't see because when I was texting you back and forth, and you said, you know, I said Spiller broke off a big run, whatever, and you said he went out with a leg injury of some sort. So that I did not see, and you know, I can't. When I'm on the road on the fucking Bell Parkway on Sunday, the first football weekend. Thank you very much, in-laws. I love you, but all in all, you know, I won't forget it. And the whole time I did want to stab you in the neck, but it was nice that you kept me up to date on certain stuff that you were able to see.
You know, while you were on the way picking up your in-laws, I ordered some Papa John's pizza.
Nice.
I got an order of buffalo wings, and I didn't move off the chair till about 11:30 at night. It was great.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did you have to carry in that mattress for your son that your mother-in-law brought to the house?
Yeah, I did.
Did you do it at halftime?
Oh, no, I did it at 12:30 before the games.
Oh, so she got there before the game started. So that worked out well for you.
Yeah, it worked out well because it would have been very uncomfortable watching her carrying it into the house by herself.
Let me tell you, when you sent me that text, I almost pissed myself. That was great. And you know what? We're not going to put out the whole thing on there, you know. But you know, my friend Paul Mr. Garris is a very funny man for you people who don't know him on a personal basis. Next thing with the NFL real quick. Give me your 5 top teams. Your 5 power rankings of week 1. Start from 5, go down to 1. Let me hear them.
Okay. Well, it's actually pretty tough, and if I had to rank it prior to the other day, prior to opening kickoff.
No, I want you to rank them after week 1.
After week 1, okay, it's going to be a significant difference.
Me too.
Number 5, I'm actually going to. I was kind of going back and forth between a couple teams. I'm going to say that my number 5 is going to be the Chicago Bears.
Okay.
Be honest with you. Remember on Sunday morning when we were talking about Atlanta and saying this is a make or break year for Matt Ryan? I could see them losing against my sleeper pick, KC.
Yep. They were impressive too. We didn't even touch on them.
Very close game, and then they just blew it right out of the and beat them. Put up another 40 spot. There were so many 40-point games out there opening week.
There was 5 of them.
I'm sorry?
There was 5 of them, and we'll get into the teams who scored them. All those teams that scored the 40 points, besides Atlanta, all defensive typical teams that never get that high in the scoreboard.
And that was the strange thing. I mean, Baltimore 4. I mean, it was only 31 for Denver, but 31. You go to San Francisco, 30 points. Atlanta put up 40. Washington put up 40. New England put up 34. Houston put up 30. Jets put up 48. Chicago put up 41. So I'm going to go with Chicago as my number 5. Number 4. I am going to say is the New England Patriots.
Okay.
All right. Number 3, I'm going to go with, let's see. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans at number 3.
Okay.
I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with San Francisco at number 2.
All right.
I don't put them at the top. I put the Baltimore Ravens at number 1 after that beating they gave Cincinnati. So I'm going to go, and to recap, I'm going to go Chicago 5, number 4, what was number 4? New England? No. Chicago 5, yeah, New England 4, Houston 3, San Fran 2, and
your Super Bowl winner.
The Super Bowl winner, Baltimore Ravens, number 1.
All right. I have 4 of the same 5 teams as you. I have 1 different team, and mine is a little bit different of an order. My number 5 team, and I'm surprised that they're even in this list for me, but I was very impressed by the way they played, the way their quarterback played on last Wednesday night, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. If this team can hold it together and not have their receivers beat their mothers, this team can be pretty good, and they showed it, especially when Romo had to make that 3rd and 8 pass at the end to lock the game up, and he threaded the needle right to that fucking Oakland tree. I had nightmares about that guy for the last 7 days. The Cowboys are my number 5. Number 4, the Houston Texans. The only reason I have them number 4, the way they beat Miami, your Miami team. When I was tracking the games, I think it was 4 minutes left in the half, and it was a 3-3 game, and I texted you. I said, boy, Miami's hanging tough with Houston. And you said, yeah, and then 2 seconds later you texted me, interception, another 30 seconds later, touchdown, then another 30 seconds, interception again, then another touchdown, and then another interception, and then another touchdown, and somehow they fumbled and they got a field goal. They scored 24 points in the matter of like 3 or 4 minutes. Outside of that, they really didn't do much offensively against a Miami team that nobody expects much from. So that's why I have them at number 4 and not higher, even though I think they're a very, very good football team. My number 3 team, the Pats, they did what we all thought they were going to do. They went in, they wiped the floor with Tennessee. Not much more to say about that. Stephen Ridley had a really nice game for them in the backfield. Brady is phenomenal. Probably the best quarterback of this generation. My number 2 is actually the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore looked as good as anybody, but the one thing is their defense could have played a little bit better. Even though they're a little older and they're a sick defense, they could have played a little bit better, I think. And my number 1 team is the 49ers. And I was so impressed with their front 7 on both sides of the ball. They absolutely beat the piss out of teams. Absolutely beat them. I mean, for them to go into Lambeau and literally put the Packers in a chokehold and pretty much not resist letting up the whole game. I mean, don't get me wrong, Green Bay got a little close. There was a block in the back call. The flag was picked up, and they awarded them a touchdown, which gave them a little bit of life. But that Niners team, they made me believers that they're going to be better than I thought, a lot better than I thought. Even though I don't like their coach, even though I have no faith in their quarterback, their offensive line, their defensive line are scary. And the only reason I'm number 1 over Baltimore is because where they went in and played at Lambeau and the quality of team that they were playing. the way that they beat them, actually dominated them for 60 minutes. That's what made me put them at number 1. My friend Chomper, very happy with that ranking that I gave them. He knows how much I kind of dislike the Niners. But with the eye test, they were as good as anybody. They're going to be scary if they stay healthy.
Yeah, and to wrap up just one little point, if I wanted to, about if I could, about the Jets. The point of concern, everybody can get lost in the hype, too, about putting up 48 points, which you can't give them enough credit for what they did. Because I remember laughing at them Sunday morning talking about, oh, today's going to be the unveiling of this powerful offense. I can't wait to see what they've saved. Not that it was anything special as far as, wow, look at those trick plays. They just ran it efficiently and did well. What I would be concerned about, and it gets lost when you blow a team out and win by 20 points, is the same problem they've had in recent years, which is their rush defense.
Yep.
You know, with Spiller out there putting up almost 200 yards rushing.
What do you go for, like 169 or something?
Yards. That's going to be a huge point of contention when you're trying to slow down a game and you're going to you can't let up 170 yards. Put it this way, he only had 14 attempts and had 170 yards rushing.
I know. He looked
That's
good.
a no-go. Take out that long 56-yard run, okay? Take out the 56-yard run. That means he had 13 carries for 113 yards.
Yep. And also, real quick, on the Jets, their offense played very well. But if you look at the numbers side to side from the game stats, first downs, yards per play, there was a couple other stats that were in there. I don't have them in front of me.
Yeah, well, you want
They're pretty even. When you look at the game stats, offensively, they matched up very close to Buffalo. Kind of matched them.
Well, here's where they lost it, and it was that shithead Fitzpatrick, who I think is a piece of garbage, signed that contract middle of last year, and totally failed. I mean, he threw 3 touchdowns, but he also threw 3 interceptions.
Yep.
Okay, so without
one of them going to the house too.
It could be a completely different game. 3 picks is not good, but first downs, 20 to 21, Buffalo had the edge.
Yep.
Third down efficiency, 66% conversion rate, 71 for Buffalo.
Yep.
Okay. Rushing yards, Buffalo had a tad under 200 yards at 195. Jets with 118. Passing yards, 195 to 266. Jets had the advantage.
Yep.
You know, it just those. Let's go.
Yards per play, they were both 6.1.
Yeah.
Or something like that. They were very close. There was a lot of those stats were very even offensively, but the difference in the game to me was the pick 6 by Cromartie, the fact that the other 2 interceptions they scored points off of in the short field, which is key, and the return by Curley, that kind of really opened the floodgates.
Oh, sure.
So
right
you get
there.
you get 2 scores outside of your offense, and then you have a short field on two possessions. And you can score on those two drives, that really opens up the gap point-wise. But when you compare numbers to what Buffalo's offense did and what the Jets' offense did, they were very similar. And that's what, it's if you take away, like you said, if you take away those picks, that game is very different.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't like when people do it, and I'm about to do it, but I don't like when people say, yeah, well, if it wasn't for that grand slam, the Mets would have won, or if it wasn't for that pick 6, it would have been a different game. That's football. That's baseball. That's any kind of sport. But if you do look at it that way, if that kickoff return was stopped, if that wasn't a pick 6, you know what I mean? That's 14 points right off the bat.
Yep.
It's now a 6-point difference, and 3 picks by Fitzpatrick's not going to cut it. That's the difference in the game. Those 3 picks is the difference of the game. And same thing with Miami. Tannehill didn't look good, but the stats are a little bit misleading too. What I was concerned about, the 3 picks that he had were all tipped passes. Okay, I think Texans had 8 tipped passes at the line. You would think after the first one, the second one, the third one, you might go, you know what? I got to stand taller in the pocket. I got to throw it higher in the pocket. Do something to change it. So when there was a 20-point turnaround due to those 3 turnovers before the end of the half, and it was all within 4 minutes of each other. That was the difference of the game. That's why I don't want to put too much credence into the Houston yet. They blew them out 30-10, but it wasn't by their high dominating offense. It absolutely wasn't. When you're given field position and you're on your opponent's 40-yard line 3 times with 4 minutes to go, you are going to put up some points.
Absolutely, and that's why, as well, you look at the numbers on the Houston game, like, oh, wow, they blew them out, they played well, they did what they're supposed to do. Houston didn't really dominate the way that we all expected them to. Miami gave them a lot of opportunities to do that. And you know what? It's going to be funny, not funny, but it's going to be interesting to see what the Jets' offense does this week against Pittsburgh's defense. Even though, Harrison's out, Palomalu doesn't look the same. Ryan Clark actually didn't play against Denver the other night because of the altitude. I didn't realize that was the case. I forgot he had that, whatever he has, that health. Yeah. That made a difference in that outcome of that game. But real quick before we go to break, what did you think of Peyton Manning? I thought he looked phenomenal, a lot better than I expected him to play in his first real game back.
Yeah, believe it or not, I did think he was going to do well. I thought it was going to be a little bit of a learning process, but sometimes you can't take the veteran edge off of a player, and Peyton Manning proved that on Sunday.
Yeah, it's one thing you can't replace his greatness, and he showed why he's one of the great ones of this generation. Very impressed by what Peyton did. That defense is going to be very good. He's making those receivers look better than what they are, and it's going to be pretty much easy street in that division for Denver, especially when you see the shitty teams like Oakland and San Diego. I actually stayed up for the first half of that game, which I don't know why I wasted my time.
But, I knew that was going to be a shitty game.
All right. We're going to take a quick break here. You're rocking with Garris and Gagz, New York Sports Guys. When we get back, we're going to dip into baseball, something we haven't really talked about too much in the last few weeks. The Yankees, are they going to make the playoffs or not? What is going on with this team? I'll tell you the reason why, at least what I think. The Mets, 4-21 in their last 25 home games. What a fucking disaster that is. Is it time to trade David Wright in the offseason and start looking for, something that's going to help build this team for the future even more than what they have in the minor leagues? Stick with us. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break. We'll be back. This is Garris and Gagz, the New York Sports Guys, live on Ustream.tv. We are back live. This is Garris Gagz, the New York Sports Guys on Ustream.tv. We just wrapped up our little review of Week 1 in the NFL, and we're going to dip into a little bit of Major League Baseball right now. And where I want to start is with the New York Yankees. And good thing we've been talking football the past few weeks, and we really haven't touched on baseball because this team's been giving me gray hairs, giving me, I think, a couple of mini strokes. The way they've been playing is absolutely garbage, but with all that said, I'm not going to put the blame on the players. And everybody's like, why? They're playing like shit, guys aren't hitting, guys are injured. I put a lot of the blame on Joe Girardi. And the reason I put the blame on Girardi is because this guy, every single decision he seems to make, really is backfiring. He's made one good decision in the last month, and that was to take Freddie Garcia out on Sunday when they had a lead, put Jobber in. Jobber got, I think, 5 outs and kind of held it together, and then the Yankees offense exploded and scored 13 runs. But I don't know if anybody out there has realized the Yankees haven't won back-to-back games in a month. A month. The last time they've won 2 in a row, I think, was August 14th and 15th. Go back and look at the schedule. And if you take out the month of June where they won, I think it was 17 out of 21, this team is under 500. Since the All-Star break, they're about 8 or 9 games under 500. I know that months ago when we started this show, I thought the acquisition of Ichiro was going to bring them great success and really make them pull away in the division.
Great success.
But it's been absolutely the opposite, and they've kind of felt the shit. And when I stepped back and I took a broad look at this team, they might make the playoffs, but when it's all said and done, if they do, it's going to be a short-lived run because they're old. Their pitching is not, their starting pitching, besides Kuroda, who's even not pitched that great the last couple times out, has not been producing the way that I think most people have expected them to produce. Sabathia's been on the DL twice. He's lost something off his fastball, that's for sure. I know you don't watch this team pretty much at all, Paul, but CeCe's a guy who throws 94, 95 effortlessly. He's been living around 91, 92, and you wonder why this guy hasn't been able to, really get past the 7th inning or let up less than 3 runs. He's not the same pitcher, and I don't know if he's pitching hurt, if he's pitching, with some type of injury that, he's kind of keeping hush-hush because the team is in a desperate situation. But all the signs point to this Yankee team really going to have to fight to the last day of the season to win this division or even get in the playoffs.
Well, you're right. And when I listening to the other guy, listen to Francesa in the afternoon weeks ago, callers were calling up guys who actually watch their team. Francesa's big on not watching games, catching SportsCenter highlights, and reviewing them. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've noticed that, Mike, but that's pretty much what he does. He watches SportsCenter highlights a couple minutes before he goes in, and then he does a show. And people were calling in concerned about the pitching, concerned about the hitting. And he's saying, you don't have to be concerned. Baltimore's not a serious contender. The Yankees are definitely going to make the playoffs. Stop worrying. Stop your complaining. And the fans were 100% right. And now Mike had to eat crow last week. He goes, listen, we all thought the Yankees were not going to, we never thought the Yankees were going to do this. No, you didn't think the Yankees were going to go through this. Everybody else everybody who watched it day in and day out kind of see the writing on the wall. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and just to show you how boring the Yankees are to watch right now, because it's not entertaining. Right? Anybody who says it's entertaining, I just love baseball, doesn't matter if my team loses, is a liar. Because for the most part, Yankee fans and the younger Yankee fan generation only knows winning. And that's something that Mike has gotten right. Anybody who's a Yankee fan who's like 25 and younger only knows the Yankees to be in winners. Because I remember the Yankees in the 80s. They sucked. Nobody was a Yankee fan. Nobody was a Yankee fan prior to 95. Nobody. It was usually split 50-50 with Mets fans. But if you want to see how boring the Yankees are, I retweeted something that Deadspin put out, which Deadspin is a great If you can follow them on Twitter, Deadspin is a great one to follow. But they had a video from today's episode when Mike was talking to Sweeney Murdy, and Mike fell asleep during the interview, and then startled himself back awake. So I retweeted it. If you guys get a chance, New York Sports Guys 1 on Twitter, take a look at it, or go to Deadspin's account and take a look at it. But Mike
can check that out.
Even stay awake on his own show.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, this guy. So people are calling up and. The thing that I hate about him, and hopefully when we stop to take phone calls, I'll never do what this guy does. He thinks he's God. He thinks he's the fucking God of all sports. Listen to him talk about things like hockey or tennis. It's, first of all, who gives a shit about hockey or tennis? But he doesn't even watch it, and he thinks he knows everything about it. And, these callers call up, and some of them make valid points. And he's like, oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Show me the proof. Give me the fact. And the guy tries to speak. He's like, get to the point. And then he fucking hangs up on him. Like, you know what? It's become a hard listen to. I used to love Francesa. I used to love Mike and the Mad Dog. But in his old age, this guy's become a fucking grumpy bastard. But not to get off the topic of the Yankees. I want to go back to Joe Girardi. This guy, when he was in Florida, was a good manager. He played small ball. He used to bunt the runners over. He played for runs. A constant thing that a lot of people have brought up on every outlet out there when it comes to the Yankees is they wait for the home run. And I've said it before a couple weeks ago. You can't do that, especially in October when you're facing elite pitchers. You look at teams like Oakland. Oakland, can you even fucking name anybody in Oakland's lineup? I mean, there are a bunch of pretty much no-names. I mean, really, you can name a couple of guys. You can name, guys like Morse and Reddick and, the Cuban guy who floated in on a piece of plywood. But, I mean, their oldest pitcher in that rotation right now is a guy named Tommy Malone. He's 25 years old. And they're winning games. And they're doing the little things, the fundamentals. That's something that the Yankees lack right now. And it's a concern to me. And last time we did talk about baseball, I said they have a 22-game stretch against the American League East that's going to make or break them. They have another, I think, 8 games after tonight, well, including tonight, which they were up, I believe, 3-1 before I came into the studio to do this show. But, for example, last night, Jeter gets the big hit, the big RBI double, 2 RBI double, gives him a 3-2 lead. Next inning, there's 2 guys in the Boston lineup, first of all, that can beat you. That's Ellsbury and Pedroia. And this guy Siriaco, who hits 500 against him. I don't know where this fucking little guy came from, but boy, has he become like the Yankee killer. I don't know if you remember Geronimo Barrola for Oakland and Baltimore back in the day, but this guy, it seemed like whenever he played the Yankees, he killed them. Those 2 guys are the only guys who are real threats to beat the Yankees, and what happens? Pedroia comes up, they throw him a fastball down the middle, he hits the home run, ties the game at 3. Then they put themselves in a tight spot. Botch a couple of bunts. How do you botch bunts? I don't know how you botch bunts, but somehow the Yankees find a way to do it, at least lately. They ended up getting out of it, and in the end, I think it was Ellsbury who came up. The other guy who can beat them, he gets the hit. Red Sox win. A Red Sox team that's kind of given up on their season, given up on their manager. A team that lost 11 out of 12 going into last night. And the Yankees I feel like the Yankees have this attitude that, they've given up, they have nothing to play for, we should be able to get a couple easy wins. The Yankees have to realize it doesn't matter who they're playing, when they're playing them, these teams get up for the fucking Yankees. For some of these teams, it's their World Series, especially in September. And the Yankees seem to be nonchalant. Oh, we're not panicking, everything's alright, we'll be just fine. You know what, if they don't start fucking winning ball games, Baltimore has not quit winning. Tampa is every bit as good as the Yankees. Teams like Oakland, I don't know how Oakland's doing it, but they keep winning. They have the second best record in the American League. Detroit and Chicago have kind of fell out of it as far as the wild card, and somebody's going to have to win that division to get in, whoever wins it. Right now, the way Detroit's playing, I don't see how they're even going to get in. That's a big disappointment. We'll get into that probably on our next broadcast. But the Yankees really have to look themselves in the mirror and say, do we want this? Because we really need to turn it on.
Yeah, without a doubt. And one of the worst things you could say, and baseball is weird. Baseball, you could see it coming from a long way. Baseball season is very, very long, and slumps happen gradually and take over. And we'll go back to like a team like the Mets back in '06 when they had this great run and made it to the playoffs and obviously lost in the NLCS. Everybody thought that they were going to be this dynasty, or not a dynasty. I shouldn't say that. Have quite a few years of competitive baseball and getting into the playoff baseball. 2007, they had a pretty damn good record for the first half of the year, but something didn't feel right. And as a fan who watches every single inning, every single pitch, you notice these things. To the untrained eye, they Sports Center highlights. You may not. Guy just reads the box score. You might not pick up on it. But something just doesn't seem right. And that was the feeling I had watching the 2007 year. And it just kind of played out. And when it started to go bad, this is what you heard. You heard fans panicking, and then you heard some people saying, don't worry about it, we're going to be fine. Never, ever, ever say, don't worry about it, we're going to be fine. When there's something to be concerned about it, when you're the Yankees, you got to fix it. And what does fixing mean at the end of the year? It's kind of tough with no trading deadline, although Boston and the Dodgers pull off one hell of a end-of-the-season trade. But you didn't just see this coming now. It's always been a problem for the Yankees this year as far as home runs being the only way they can score runs. We were talking about that in April and May, just me and you. They've been talking about it on Sports Talk Radio since the beginning of the season, too. So it didn't sneak up on you. You knew it was going to be a problem, and everything had to work out perfectly for it to happen. At the time when I said the Yankees are going to be the number one team, the favorite to win the AL, it was because they were hitting home runs, but it was because they were pitching well.
Yep.
And if you're going to hit home runs, and that's the only way you're going to score, they come few and far between. You better damn well be pitching well.
Yep. And when you don't have guys like Pettit and Nova, who've been out, and he's going to make his return on Saturday against Tampa at home, that hopefully will give him a lift. Pettit today threw a 60-pitch simulated game. He says he's ready to go. Whenever the team wants to use him, hopefully in the next 5 days, they'll put him in. Hopefully he's pitching Sunday. But, even if they get these guys back, they're able to stabilize their rotation, and they can win enough games to make the playoffs. Without CC Sabathia being himself, without David Robertson being able to get guys out in the 8th inning, this team has no chance to go anywhere but probably 3 or 4 games. If they end up being one of the wild card teams, I don't see how this team can even win that one-game wild card. You're going to put Sabathia on the mound, and the guy's not pitching the way Sabathia is paid to pitch or the way Sabathia's resume reads. He's just not been. He's a guy pitching to almost a 6 ERA over his last 4 or 5 starts. He had one good start in Tampa, and then Robbie Cano, which, has anybody even seen Robbie Cano over the last month? This guy's been playing the worst baseball since when he first came up, making 6 errors in 2 weeks.
Well, that's all. But this is what Robbie Cano is. Robbie Cano's a great player, but he's a lackadaisical and lazy player.
No, you know what? I'm going to correct you on that.
Anybody who says he's not does not watch enough Yankee games.
No, I'm going to tell you, he's not a lazy player, but I'll tell you this. The way he plays, he looks that way. He's very nonchalant. That's just the way he plays.
And that's what they used to say about Carlos Beltran.
But let me finish real quick before you go on to your point. When he gets into a rut, similar to the way that he's been playing, it's almost like he doesn't care, and he becomes a lazy player.
I got you. Okay. That makes sense.
That's just my take on it. I mean, I've watched the guy for the last 6-7 years, almost every night, and I know where people say, he looks lazy. He's not lazy. He gives effort. He plays hard, but the way his game comes across is he plays so nonchalant. And that was a perfect example that you said when you said Carlos Beltran. because it's similar. The way Beltran, he almost looks like he doesn't run for the ball in the outfield. He glides to the ball, you know? But when Cano gets into a funk or a slump, I mean, this guy really, I don't know what it is. Like, mentally, he's almost not in the game.
Yeah, and that's what they have to. You're not going to cure it. That's what he is, and that's who he's going to become if things aren't going well. They just need to correct this, and there's plenty of time to get it righted. But what are they? How far ahead are they? One game?
No, they were deadlock going into tonight.
Deadlock. Okay, well, it was 5-1, I think, in the seventh or eighth inning.
Well, in the sixth, it was 3-1 when I came in here.
Okay, it was 5-1 last time I checked. So they're up a little bit, and let's just hope if Robertson gets in there, he doesn't blow the lead. But that's the other thing, everybody getting on him. He's been a hell of a pitcher all year long. He's going into a slump. Everybody deserves a slump. It just sucks how everything's happening at the same time with him.
I'll say this about David Robinson. He's kind of spoiled us as Yankees, well, myself as a Yankee fan, and all Yankee fans the last couple of years, because he's been so dominant. And since he came back from the injury, he's never been able to really catch a groove where, you know, he's gone 10 outings without giving up a run. I mean, the other night in Baltimore, they fight back. They tie the game at 6 after being down 6-1 in the seventh inning, or in the eighth inning. He comes in, he gives up back-to-back home runs to Reynolds and Adam Jones, and, you know, he killed the whole momentum of what the team had going. Then last night, you know, they bring him in the ninth, which for some reason when this guy pitches in the ninth inning, even when they trot him out as a closer, mentally there's something that goes wrong in this guy's head that he can't get innings out in the ninth inning. He's an eighth inning pitcher, he's a seventh inning pitcher, and if I was Girardi down the stretch here, Soriano has pitched so well. His innings are down compared to the last 2 years because in the closer's role, he's only going to pitch that one inning. He's got to start to use this guy for more than... I mean, there's been 2 or 3 times that I can remember in the last few months where he's used him for 4-out saves. But he's going to start to look to him as if he had Mariano and try to get 6 outs with him because he's the only guy really in the bullpen that I have 100% confidence in going out there and getting me some outs. Job has thrown the ball better over the last 8 to 10 days. He looks like he's really starting to come back around. I know he had a rough go of it when he came off the DL. Last night he threw 96. He was throwing gas. His slider, he's getting the command back of the slider. So hopefully if he can continue to progress, you know, I would like to see him maybe try to pitch a couple of eighth innings before the season's all said and done and use Robinson in the seventh. But Girardi's got to stop going to lefty-righty matchups every single time. He seems to get burnt. He uses 3 or 4 pitches in an inning sometimes, which drives me fucking nuts. You know what? But still, you can't... Sometimes playing by the book ends up burning you. You have to have a feel for the game. Like you said, you know what? You got to go what you got. You got to go, you know, you have faith in the guy, let him go out there and get the fucking job done. I mean, you never saw him take Mariano out because there was a left-hander coming up. No, because you have confidence in Mariano. You know that he's going to go out there, he's going to more likely than not get the guys out. I mean, listen, baseball's a game where you fail 7 out of 10 times. So you don't have to go from use 2 pitchers who, like Boone Logan the other day, you're down 3 runs, Boone Logan comes in, gives up a home run, they're down 4 runs, he threw 1 pitch, you're going to take him out and waste another fucking arm out of the bullpen. Right. You know, at that point, you're not going to win the fucking game. Let the guy throw some more pitches, let him try to work out of it. And you know what? It's almost like he coddles a lot of these guys, especially in the bullpen. He overuses the bullpen guys sometimes where, not that they overuse them, because sometimes they only throw 1 fucking pitch. But, you know what I'm saying? He uses too many arms out of these bullpens, and he's going to get himself into an extra inning game before the end of the year where he's going to fucking run out of pitches. I know it. That's just the way, because he plays everything by the book. Lefty, lefty, righty, lefty. And he does the same thing with the lineup. Last night, you don't have Ichiro in the lineup because of John Lester. Ichiro is one of the fucking best hitters of the last 15, 20 years. He can hit anybody. Why are you going to put Andrew Jones, who looks like he's about 2 cheeseburgers away from fucking being out of the league, out there because he's a right-handed bat? The guy does not run very well. His defense is now maybe a little bit below average, and you're going to sit a 12-time All-Star, a guy who's hitting like .325 since he's been traded to the Yankees and been playing great a guy with speed who could do something on the base pass if he gets on, a guy if you need somebody to drop a fucking bunt down, which isn't even in Joe Girardi's goddamn dictionary anymore. He can get that done. There's so many. Even though he's left-handed and there's a left-handed pitcher on the mound, doesn't mean you have to fucking sit him down, Joe. Wake the fuck up. Stop managing with your gut and not with your fucking textbook. I'm sick of the fucking textbook. You could throw it out the fucking window. And if he continues to manage this way and they miss the fucking playoffs, this guy, he can go out the fucking window right on the cross Bronx and get hit by a fucking 18-wheeler. That's the way I feel about it. Because that's the way he's fucking leading this team. He's leading them nowhere but besides a fucking car wreck. And you know what? Everybody's loving it. Why? Because everybody loves a fucking car wreck. You know what? Now I'm worked up. I'm heated. I wanted to get into the Mets and how bad they've been, but you know what? I don't want to get you heated and worked up. We're at like an hour and 10 minutes now. We're a little bit over what we planned on doing. So you want to put anything on top of that little cupcake I just laid up there?
No, not at all. I mean, you wrapped it up perfectly. Just a Yankees point of view and why you're frustrated and why your frustrations are coming to fruition. You haven't had to deal with this. You haven't had to deal with the September collapse. So
no.
Welcome to the club, buddy.
I mean, listen, I dealt with the teams of 89, 90, 91, the Stump Merrill days. Those were some tough years. But, since I would say since 93, I've had a great run for the last 20 years as a fan. I mean, they've been competitive. They've been in it every year. Thank God for Paul O'Neill and Wade Boggs coming to the Yankees. That's what's kind of turned it around. Bernie coming up. But we're not going to reminisce. We can't live in the past. We got to look towards the future. And if they don't fucking get their act together, this team might be sitting home with me and you watching playoff baseball.
Without a doubt.
That's all I have to say about that. And if they continue to falter when we come back on the air next week, maybe even Sunday when we're talking football, I might have a fucking stroke. But we'll worry about that. We'll take it one game at a time and see what happens. That's why they play the games, as they say. But we're going to sign off for now. This is Garris Gagz, New York Sports Guys Live, Ustream.tv. We'll be on the air Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for our Week 2 pregame, before the pregame show, as we go through all the games of Week 2 in the NFL. Real quick before we sign off, Bears-Packers tomorrow night in Lambeau. Who do you like?
You know what? I'm going to have to go with the Bears.
Me too, for some reason. I just feel like what San Francisco did to them really, it might fucking put something in that Packer head, especially that defense who I had a lot of faith in. You know what? They disappointed the shit out of me on Sunday. But we're going to close it out right there. And like I said, this is Garris Gagz, New York Sports Guys, live on Ustream.tv. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you Sunday morning.